If you've ever seen an episode of Dallas, then you've seen the great acting talents of Charlene Tilton. She was very famous in the 1980s, and yet she managed to keep most of her life very private. Even her biggest fans have trouble finding facts about her life, which is why we are here to tell you all the secret facts about Charlene Tilton's life. Stay with us, because in just a moment we'll dive into the story of how Charlene landed the iconic role on Dallas. Charlene was born on December 1st, 1958, into a life defined by struggle. Her mother, working as a secretary, juggled tasks that likely involved basic clerical duties, phone answering, and copious amounts of typing, standard office responsibilities that, in the late 1950s and early 1960s, were not known for providing high wages, especially for a single parent. Her father, notably absent, left a vacuum that would deeply shape Charlene's emotional experiences and long-term outlook on relationships. Growing up in a household that had to ration food and minimize electricity usage is a far cry from the glamorous mansion sets and designer outfits on Dallas. Yet what is especially important to grasp here is the fortitude that grew within Charlene. She supported her mother by taking whatever part-time work she could find, from fast food counters to diner floors, collecting small paychecks that would contribute to groceries or utility bills. Even more crucially, she learned early on that any dream worth having would require tangible action and unyielding perseverance. Culturally, this was the tail end of an era in which single mothers faced societal disapproval more overtly than they do today. The War on Poverty in the United States, declared in the mid-1960s, aimed to address economic disparity, but public assistance and social programs might not have reached every struggling household, or might have come with a sense of shame attached. Charlene and her mother were effectively navigating uncharted territory, especially in a region like San Diego, where cost of living, particularly near coastal areas, could be high. As a result, they likely settled in more modest parts of the city, making do with limited means. Interestingly, living in California placed Charlene in relative proximity to Los Angeles, the heart of the entertainment industry. The city where dreams were made and broken was within driving distance, a fact that might have seemed tantalizingly close, yet still so far from her reality. Just affording the gas to drive up for an audition or having the right clothes for a casting call was probably a challenge. Nonetheless, in small increments, Charlene started nurturing the idea that acting was possible, or at least worth pursuing. On weekends or days off from school and work, she might have looked at casting notices in local newspapers, saving her a few extra dollars to attend an open audition. An element often overlooked is the emotional toll of an absent father. When a father figure is missing, young women may either become fiercely independent or, conversely, seek that missing parental presence in mentors or romantic relationships. In Charlene's life, both patterns seemed to surface at different times. She developed the grit to handle difficult circumstances, no father to run to for help or financial assistance, but she also later formed strong bonds with men who took on supportive roles, such as Larry Hagman. This early background might have also shaped Charlene's later capacity for empathy. Growing up poor and fatherless, she understood what it meant to lack basic opportunities. That awareness may have played a part in her decision many years down the line to commit herself to charity work aimed at helping children who, in their own ways, could feel marginalized. It's also worth noting that Charlene's mother, while struggling financially, appears to have done her best to shield her daughter from total despair. Their home environment, though austere, was presumably one of mutual love and cooperation. There might not have been extravagant family vacations or brand new clothes, each school year, but there was the lesson of perseverance. Together, they managed to keep their heads above water, forming a tight-knit unit that, for all its hardships, would eventually give Charlene the emotional grounding to handle the roller coaster of fame. Family is not merely a label, it's an experience that molds our personalities and future choices. Charlene's early life offers a potent example of how a missing puzzle piece in the family can echo throughout one's development. The absence of her father meant that Charlene often had to navigate life's puzzles without a complete picture. This wasn't just about financial strain, it was also about emotional gaps, unanswered questions about identity, and a longing for guidance that her single mother, despite best efforts, could not entirely fulfill alone. Children in such situations frequently become parentified, taking on more adult responsibilities at a young age. This might mean budgeting groceries, helping to plan the family calendar, or offering emotional support to an overworked parent. Such early adulthood can cultivate resilience and independence while simultaneously creating a deep-seated desire for a stable paternal figure. The father's absence lingered like a specter, influencing Charlene's friendships, her sense of self-worth, and eventually her attitude toward older male mentors, particularly when her acting career began to take shape. In interviews conducted years later, Charlene would touch on these emotional scars. While she often remained private, the times she did open up revealed a persistent sense that her father's absence wasn't just a childhood void, it was a lifelong question. Such questions can drive a person to seek affirmation in their professional life or in personal relationships. As we will see, Charlene's bond with Larry Hagman was arguably, at least in part, fueled by a longing to fill a missing parental role. Nevertheless, Charlene's relationship with her mother served as a cornerstone. The mother-daughter duo worked in tandem, forging an unbreakable partnership. Through financial crisis after financial crisis, they learned survival tactics that many privileged youths never had to master. By the time Charlene was old enough to get more involved in acting, she already knew how to manage her money. No small feat in a business that can cause new stars to overspend once paychecks start coming in. This period of Charlene's life also provides a lens for understanding her innate empathy. She was never a star who derived from wealth or had an easy childhood. She understood what it felt like to be hungry, to watch the electricity bill carefully, to handle heartbreak. That empathy would later allow her to connect with castmates, mentors, and eventually fans. She knew how to be genuine because she had come from a place where pretension was never an option. She did not excel in high school, not because she wasn't smart, but because she simply couldn't afford most of the things that a high school student needs in order to learn. Plus, most of her free time was spent working part-time jobs. As if financial problems weren't enough, there was one more thing that seemed to be stopping Charlene from reaching any kind of success. She was only 4 feet 11 inches tall. Today, we would not consider this much of a hindrance, since we encourage people to be accepted for who they are. But back in the 60s and 70s, a tall woman was considered much more elegant and beautiful. In her later years of high school, Charlene began to dream of an acting career. She was inspired by TV actresses and sitcoms and really wanted to try her hand at being like them. Luck was a little bit on her side because she lived in California and had the opportunities to go to auditions. However, her height was still a problem. Charlene's opportunities were limited because of it. She would only be offered auditions for ditzy or chubby characters, mostly roles that viewers would see as comedic relief. Even those roles seemed impossible to achieve. Near the end of her high school years, Charlene met actor Larry Hagman. He loved her acting talents and didn't care about her height. Most importantly, he was not a weird older man looking for a younger woman. His intentions were those of a stepfather, someone who really wanted Charlene to succeed. Soon their professional and personal relationship developed, and Larry had a part he thought Charlene would play beautifully. When Charlene was 17, Larry got her an audition for the role of Lucy Ewing on Dallas. Lucy was Larry's on-screen niece and would become a very important character in the series. Although Larry was the one to book the audition, it was Charlene's acting talent that got her the job. Her life made a 180-degree turn, and she suddenly had a full-time job on one of the most popular series of the time. Their chemistry on screen as uncle and niece was fantastic, and her performance was met with raving reviews. Many people loved her off-screen as well, slowly turning her into a celebrity of her own. Charlene's days on the set of Dallas were full of laughter and many new opportunities. It was on the set that Charlene discovered her talent for singing. She made an attempt at a singing career and even performed as a singer in an episode of Dallas called Runaway in 1978. She continued her attempt at a singing career some more, but it was not nearly as successful as her acting career. Dallas also allowed Charlene to experience more acting and TV show opportunities. Some of her most famous appearances included the TV series Happy Days and 8 is Enough. She also appeared in a movie alongside Jodie Foster in Freaky Friday, which skyrocketed her career and future aspirations even more. Charlene's star might have been on the rise professionally, but personal life rarely follows a straight line. The early 1980s saw her fall in love with Johnny Lee, a country singer who had achieved significant fame with the track Lookin' for Love, famously featured in the 1980 film Urban Cowboy. On the surface, it seemed like a union of two bright talents from intersecting entertainment worlds, television and country music. The pair tied the knot in 1982, the same year their daughter, Cherish Lee, was born. As is often the case with young couples in the public eye, the initial romance glowed brightly, but behind the scenes, matters were far less rosy. According to multiple accounts, the relationship devolved into verbal abuse and erratic behavior on Johnny's part, leading Charlene to conclude that the marriage was no longer tenable. Within 2 years, they divorced. This experience left Charlene understandably cautious about future relationships. She focused on her work, immersing herself on Dallas and other acting projects, all while raising a young daughter as a single mother. In 1985, Charlene entered her second marriage, this time with Scottish singer and musician Dominic Allen. Dominic was known for his dynamic stage presence, having performed with Liberace and in various musical productions. Their union represented a new chapter for Charlene, a chance to find the stability and harmony she had longed for following her turbulent first marriage. Despite the optimism at the outset, the couple's relationship faced its own set of challenges, often compounded by the demands of show business and the difficulties of balancing two rising careers. After 7 years together, Charlene and Dominic parted ways in 1992. This second divorce, while difficult, further strengthened Charlene's resolve to prioritize her emotional well-being and that of her daughter. For much of the late 1980s and 1990s, Charlene kept romantic suitors at bay. It was a protective measure. She had seen the worst of marital conflict and had no desire to repeat it. But fate intervened in 2001 when she crossed paths with Chetty Hart, a cinematographer. Their meeting might have felt ordained, a stark contrast to the pain Charlene had endured before. Where her first marriage had been tumultuous, her union with Chetty brought stability, kindness, and support. Chetty became a loving stepfather to Cherish. Finally, Charlene seemed to have found the kind of strong familial environment she had longed for since her childhood, a harmonious household where partnership and affection were mutual. Dallas was such a phenomenon that some cast members found it difficult to exit gracefully. Charlene's decision to step away after 8 seasons was driven by a desire to explore new avenues, an impulse shared by many actors who fear being forever typecast. But her departure left her mentor, Larry Hagman, feeling disappointed and perhaps betrayed, given their close bond on and off the set. Larry's protective nature toward Charlene resembled that of a father figure. He had championed her from the start, watching her blossom from a teenage actress into a star. The knowledge that she was leaving might have felt like seeing a daughter move out unexpectedly. Charlene, for her part, recognized how much she owed Larry and felt a responsibility to honor that bond. This sense of loyalty drew her back to Dallas for 2 additional seasons, allowing for closure for Lucy Ewing's storyline and giving Larry the reassurance that his beloved on-screen niece was there to see the show through to its conclusion. Charlene's relationship with Chetty seemed to bring an unaccustomed level of peace and happiness. Chetty Hart was caring, compassionate, and genuine, a stark contrast to the difficulties she had faced before. The couple set up home in Oxnard, a coastal city that provides a tranquil environment for families looking to escape the hustle of Los Angeles. Their circle of friends was close and supportive, offering a communal warmth that Charlene had rarely experienced in her early life or during the frantic filming schedules of her youth. Tragically, this idyllic life came to a screeching halt in December 2009 when Chetty died suddenly from a heart attack. He was only 54, making his death especially devastating. Overnight, Charlene found herself widowed, robbed of the marital bliss she had long yearned to maintain. Grief can be overwhelming in any circumstance, but when it's sudden and unexpected, the emotional toll can be debilitating. Charlene retreated into herself, eschewing any interviews or public engagements, thereby disappearing from the limelight she had occupied for so long. In the immediate aftermath of Chetty's death, fans who had followed Charlene's career, from her earliest days on Dallas to her later public appearances, were shocked and heartbroken by the news. Many who had watched Charlene and Chetty together at charity events or seen photos of them at Hollywood gatherings had remarked on how happy and settled she appeared in his presence. Their relationship seemed to restore a peaceful glow to Charlene's life, especially after the hardships of her earlier marriage. As soon as word spread that she had lost Chetty so suddenly, countless admirers reached out, posting messages of condolence on internet forums, sending cards and letters, and even creating online memorial pages where fans shared memories of Charlene's past works, interwoven with heartfelt tributes to Chetty. Celebrity news outlets also took note of Charlene's tragic loss, often running headlines that juxtaposed her glamorous image as Lucy Ewing against the stark reality of her grief. While some tabloids tried to speculate on the emotional turmoil she was experiencing, respectable entertainment columns showcased genuine empathy, highlighting the love story Charlene and Chetty had shared. Broadcast segments on morning shows occasionally replayed clips of Charlene's earlier interviews in which she praised Chetty's warm, calming nature. Yet for the most part, Charlene herself remained conspicuously silent. She declined interview requests and withdrew almost entirely from social functions. The media's response further underscored her absence. Where Charlene Tilton had once been a staple at red carpet events and nostalgic Dallas reunions, now there was only a quiet void. Fans would sometimes gather on social media platforms, limited though they were in 2009 compared to today, to reminisce about her roles and wonder how she was coping. Many urged one another to respect her privacy, noting that sudden grief can be an especially complicated and isolating experience. Despite her retreat, the groundswell of support continued. Many fans wrote open letters in magazines or penned blog posts that praised Charlene for her strength in the face of adversity and assured her that she was not alone, even if she was grieving out of the public eye. For someone who had spent much of her life under the watchful lens of cameras, Charlene's withdrawal was a dramatic change in her public persona. Close friends in the industry described it as an understandable step back, a necessary time to process her feelings far away from the bright lights and insistent microphones. Some longtime Dallas cast members spoke in interviews about how they reached out privately, offering condolences and emotional support. They respected her decision not to appear in public, unlike many Hollywood figures who might give a public statement or arrange a televised memorial. Charlene chose a deeply personal path through her mourning. In many ways, the media's coverage of Charlene's disappearance from the limelight only emphasized the incredible personal bond she and Chetty had shared. Reports and fan messages depicted Chetty as not just a spouse, but a comforting presence who had effectively become an anchor for her life, someone who had helped her reconnect with the joys of stable family life. That sense of security was torn away in a matter of moments, and Charlene simply needed space to come to terms with that harsh new reality. This dark period was characterized by an intense depression. The parallels to her childhood struggles might have resurfaced: the sense of instability, the feeling of being left to navigate life without vital support. However, what emerged after some years was a renewed sense of purpose. Charlene channeled her grief into a cause that she found meaningful: autism advocacy. By becoming an ambassador for Actors for Autism, she discovered a new kind of fulfillment, assisting children with autism in discovering their creative voices through acting workshops. This work not only gave her a reason to step back into public spaces, but also illuminated a path of compassion that could help others, reflecting Charlene's innate understanding of hardship. She recognized that acting can be a therapeutic avenue for many, particularly those on the autism spectrum who might struggle with social cues or communication in more traditional environments. By teaching them the basics of performance, improv exercises, reading lines, working through emotions, she provided them an avenue to build confidence and self-expression. It was also an opportunity for Charlene to feel that Chetty's passing had not broken her spirit, but instead transformed her into someone who could guide and nurture others. That's the content of today's video. If you enjoy the video, give us a like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive more of our new videos. Thanks for watching.